The sky over Zarathia shimmered with colors no human eye could imagine. Across its two suns, the palace towers reflected light like liquid crystal, sending tiny rainbows dancing across the marble floors below. Inside, the palace was alive with soft hums and gentle lights. Every corridor, every chamber seemed to pulse with energy, as if the walls themselves were aware of the beings who lived there. Tiny wings flickered as Princess Leora floated down a wide corridor, her feet barely touching the smooth floor. Her golden hair shimmered in the soft light, and her bright violet eyes sparkled with excitement. She was no ordinary child. Leora had always been curious, brave, and far more observant than most of the palace's guards. Today, curiosity had brought her on a new adventure. She wanted to see the newest news for herself. "Leora, do not wander so far," Queen Arathia's voice called softly from behind. She moved gracefully, her robes trailing like water across the floor. "The palace is not a place for games today." Leora turned and smiled, her small wings twitching. "I am not playing, Mother. I just want to see." Queen Arathia sighed but allowed her daughter to continue, knowing that no warning could stop Leora once her mind was made up. The palace was in an unusual state of tension today. Every official and guard seemed busier than normal, whispering in corners and glancing nervously at the sky. News had arrived hours ago that a human ship had entered Zarathia's orbit. Humans were considered distant and unpredictable in the galaxy. Their technology advanced in some ways and crude in others. No human had ever come to the palace directly. Leora's heart beat faster as she reached the observation window. Through the transparent crystal, she could see a silver ship floating above the palace. It was small compared to Zarathia's massive orbital vessels, but its design was elegant in a strange, practical way. Unlike the palace's ships, which shimmered with energy and light, the human ship looked plain, almost fragile. And then she saw him. The hatch of the ship opened, and a figure stepped out. He was human. His movements were calm, precise, and confident. Even from a distance, Leora could tell that he was unlike any being she had ever seen. His eyes, sharp and intelligent, scanned the palace below with interest, but no fear. "Mom, that's him!" Leora exclaimed, pointing with both hands. Her voice, small but clear, echoed across the palace chamber. The palace went silent. Every servant, guard, and official froze in place. The whispering stopped. Even the soft hum of the palace walls seemed to pause, as if listening. Queen Arathia turned slowly to see her daughter pointing at the strange newcomer. Her violet eyes met Leora's wide, excited ones. "Leora," she began softly, sensing the meaning in the child's words before she understood it fully. "Do you mean him?" "Yes," Leora whispered urgently. "I've never seen anyone like him, but I know he is the one." The officials hesitated at the doors, unsure whether to approach or retreat. The guards shifted nervously, gripping their staffs tightly. The human was now descending the palace steps, each movement deliberate and calm. There was no fear in him, only something else, something that felt ancient and important. Queen Arathia signaled for the royal advisors to step forward. "Bring him to the audience chamber," she commanded, her voice steady but low, carrying the authority of centuries. The advisors nodded, moving quickly to prepare for the first contact between the palace and a human being. Leora floated closer to the window, her small wings buzzing softly. She could see his features more clearly now: brown hair slightly tousled, a strong jaw, and deep, intelligent eyes. His clothing was simple but clean, and around his neck hung a pendant that glowed faintly with a warm, golden light. It was small, but even from this distance, it seemed familiar. Leora felt a strange pull in her chest. She didn't understand why, but she knew she had seen it before, somewhere in the palace's ancient halls, in books or stories passed down for generations. The human continued down the stairs and stepped onto the palace floor. The air seemed to shift. Guards straightened, their eyes narrowing. The advisors whispered in fear and awe, unsure of what to make of him. And Leora? She hovered closer, curiosity and recognition battling with the cautious voice inside her head. "Why does he feel important?" she whispered to herself. "Because, my child," Queen Arathia said quietly, standing beside her daughter, "he is important. Perhaps more than you can yet imagine." The human looked around the chamber, taking in the palace with a calm, respectful gaze. He made no sudden movements. There was no fear in his eyes, only curiosity and intelligence. When he spoke, his voice was firm but gentle. "I am Ethan," he said in the alien tongue, flawless and clear. "I come in peace." "I seek an audience with the Queen and her council." A murmur ran through the room. How could a human speak Zorathian so perfectly? Many aliens considered their language intricate and difficult to learn. And yet here was a human, standing in the palace, speaking as if he had been born to it. Queen Arathia nodded. "You are welcome, Ethan. The council will meet with you shortly. But first you will come with me." Leora's wings fluttered nervously. She wanted to follow him, to understand more, but she stayed close to her mother, sensing that something momentous was unfolding. As Ethan walked beside the Queen, he did not look nervous. Instead, he looked around with a quiet fascination, his gaze lingering on the crystalline walls and the shimmering gardens inside the palace. He paused briefly to observe the fountains, which floated in midair, and the plants that glowed with soft colors. There was a moment when he looked directly at Leora. He smiled faintly, and in that instant, she felt an undeniable connection, a sense that he understood more than he let on. The council chamber was vast, circular, and bathed in soft blue light. Aliens of every shape and size were already seated, their forms glowing faintly with the energy of their species. They whispered to each other, curiosity and suspicion mingling in their voices. When Queen Arathia entered with Ethan, the room fell completely silent. Ethan bowed respectfully. "Honored Council, I come with a message of peace and cooperation. I am a researcher, an explorer, and a friend." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. Some saw him as a threat. Others, like the elder scholar Verithin, sensed something unusual, something that suggested Ethan was not an ordinary human. Leora floated forward, unable to contain herself. She hovered near the edge of the chamber and whispered to her mother, "Mom, the pendant, it's the same as the one in the old library, the one the stories said could do great things." Queen Arathia's eyes widened slightly. She had kept the stories from her daughter, believing the knowledge too dangerous for a child. But Leora had seen it, recognized it. "Yes, my child," she whispered. "It is the same. That pendant. It has been lost for generations. Where did he find it?" Ethan, sensing their attention, lifted the pendant slightly, letting it catch the light. A soft golden glow spread across the chamber, illuminating ancient symbols that had not been seen in centuries. The council gasped. You possess one of the lost keys," Verathin said, stepping forward. His voice trembled with awe. "It is impossible. Humans have never been known to carry such artifacts." Ethan looked at him calmly. "I was sent to find it, to understand it, to help ensure the survival of both our peoples." Leora's heart raced. She floated closer, unable to hide her excitement. He might really be the one from the stories," she whispered. Queen Arathia placed a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Perhaps, my child. But we must wait and see. Many things will be revealed in time." The chamber remained quiet, the only sound the faint hum of the pendant. Everyone present could feel the energy, the power, and the significance of this moment. A human stood in the palace of Zerathia, calm, respectful, and unlike any being they had known. And a tiny princess, brave and observant, had seen the truth before anyone else. Outside, the suns of Zerathia began to set, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold. The palace, once alive only with light and hums, now seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the events that would unfold. Somewhere deep inside, Leora knew one thing for certain. The arrival of Ethan was not just a visit. It was the beginning of a story that would change Zerathia and the galaxy forever. The palace of Zerathia was unusually quiet after Ethan's arrival. Guards patrolled the halls with measured steps, whispering to each other about the strange human and the glowing pendant around his neck. Courtiers and scholars gathered in clusters, exchanging theories, some fearful, some awed. Yet in the midst of this uncertainty, Princess Leora floated along the palace corridors, her tiny wings flickering with excitement. She could not stop thinking about Ethan. "Mother," she whispered to Queen Arathia as they walked through the crystal-lit halls. "Why does he feel different? There is something about him. Something I cannot explain." Queen Arathia studied her daughter carefully. "You are very observant, my child. Humans are strange and unpredictable, yes, but sometimes they carry a spark of something greater, something ancient. Perhaps your instincts sense this." Leora nodded, her violet eyes fixed on the distant chamber where Ethan was speaking with the council. She longed to learn more, to understand why her heart had recognized him before anyone else had. But the council's proceedings were not for children. She knew she had to be patient, or at least try to. Meanwhile, Ethan was being guided through the palace corridors by Verathan, the elder scholar. The human's calm, steady presence seemed to put the nervous scholar at ease. "You must understand, Ethan," Verathan said, glancing at the pendant. "The lost keys are not mere ornaments. They contain knowledge our civilization has guarded for centuries. The one you carry is extraordinary." Ethan touched the pendant lightly, and it pulsed with a soft golden light. "I know," he said. "I have studied its history. It is said to hold the power to unite species, to share knowledge beyond what words can express. I did not come here to steal it. I came to protect it, and to learn how to use it wisely." Verathan blinked. Humans were often reckless, he had heard. They were explorers, sometimes too curious for their own good. But Ethan's calm, thoughtful demeanor suggested a wisdom beyond his kind. "If what you say is true, then the future of our people may be tied to yours," he murmured. Back in the palace gardens, Leora was observing through a series of floating crystal platforms. She followed Ethan's every step, her wings barely stirring. She had learned that she could move silently through the air, unseen by most of the palace guards. Today, she used this skill to watch the human closely. Ethan stopped in the center of the gardens, staring at the plants that glowed in the twilight. He knelt slightly and placed his hands near a cluster of radiant flowers. Light from the pendant spread over them, and to Leora's astonishment, the plants seemed to respond. They swayed gently, their glow intensifying, as if recognizing the human's presence. Leora's eyes widened. "It is working," she whispered. He is activating the power of the pendant." Just then, one of the palace guards approached the human. "Sir, you must not touch the sacred plants. They are protected by ancient energy." Ethan smiled politely. "I mean no harm. I am only trying to understand." He spoke in flawless Zerathian, his tone respectful yet confident. The guard hesitated, then stepped back, sensing that the human's intentions were true. Leora felt a surge of pride and excitement. She wanted to run to him and shout, but she knew she must remain hidden. Later that evening, Ethan was brought to the council chamber once more. Queen Arathia and the council awaited him. The room was dimly lit, the soft glow of the pendant casting long shadows across the walls. "Ethan," the queen said, her voice calm but firm. "You have come to Zarathia carrying something powerful. Many of my people fear what they do not understand. You must show us your intentions clearly." Ethan nodded. "Your Majesty, I come as a friend. I bring no weapons, no threat. I only seek knowledge and cooperation. This pendant has been in my family for generations. It was entrusted to humanity long ago, with the hope that one day it could bring our species together." The council murmured in surprise. Humans were not usually trusted with alien relics. The notion that a human could hold such an important object challenged everything they believed. "You claim this pendant is meant to unite us," Varathan said cautiously. "How can we be sure of your words?" Ethan held up the pendant. "Let it speak for itself." As he did, the pendant's glow intensified. Holographic images appeared above it, visions of planets, alien civilizations, and humans working together. Knowledge of technology, art, medicine, and science flowed across the chamber like liquid light. Every council member stared in awe. Even the most skeptical could not deny the wisdom contained in the images. Leora, watching from the shadows, felt her excitement grow. "He really is the one," she whispered. "He is the key to everything." Suddenly, the calm was broken. Alarms echoed through the palace. Guards shouted as an alert flashed across the crystal walls. Intruders approaching the palace grounds. "Intruders?" Queen Arathia demanded, rising from her throne. "Who would dare?" Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Not all who see the pendant will act in peace," he said quietly. "Some will want it for themselves." Leora's heart pounded. She had read stories of ancient wars fought over powerful artifacts, but she had never imagined one unfolding in real time. She hovered closer to the council chamber, wanting to see what would happen. The palace gates were breached by a rival faction, aliens from a distant system who had learned of Ethan's arrival. They sought the pendant, believing it could give them unimaginable power. They stormed the palace, their technology clashing with the defensive shields that surrounded the gardens. Ethan stood calmly in the center of the chamber, the pendant glowing brighter than ever. He spoke softly, almost as if to himself, and the images projected from the pendant began to shift, forming protective barriers that repelled the attackers. The council watched in amazement. Humans were resourceful, yes, but this was beyond ordinary ingenuity. Ethan's quick thinking, combined with the pendant's energy, created defenses that no alien army had expected. Leora, seeing the danger, darted through the hallways to warn the palace guards. Her small voice carried urgency. "Attackers! They want the pendant! Follow me!" The guards rallied quickly, inspired by the bravery of the tiny princess. They moved with precision, using strategies that had been trained for years. With Ethan's guidance and the princess's warning, they pushed the attackers back, forcing them to retreat from the palace. Once the threat had passed, silence fell over the palace again. The council members, exhausted but relieved, turned to Ethan. You have saved us," Varathan said, shaking his head in disbelief. "And not with violence alone, but with wisdom, courage, and humanity." Queen Arathia stepped forward, placing a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You have proven your intentions. You have shown bravery and understanding beyond what we expected. You are not just a visitor, Ethan. You are a bridge. Perhaps the bridge we need to unite our species." Leora floated forward, her tiny wings buzzing with excitement. She looked up at Ethan with admiration. "I knew it from the start," she said softly. "You are the one the stories spoke about, the one who can help both our worlds." Ethan smiled gently at her. "And it seems the smallest of us can see the greatest truths," he said, his eyes twinkling. As night fell over Zarathia, The palace glowed softly under the light of the twin moons. Inside, humans and aliens had begun the slow, careful work of understanding each other. Knowledge flowed, curiosity sparked, and a fragile but hopeful trust took root. Leora watched Ethan as he studied the pendant, learning more about her people and their history. She knew the journey ahead would not be easy, but for the first time, she felt that the future, her future, was brighter than ever. Somewhere deep inside, she understood that the arrival of Ethan was not just a story of one human visiting an alien world. It was the beginning of a partnership that could change the galaxy, led by courage, intelligence, and a tiny princess who saw the truth first. The palace of Zerathia was unusually quiet the morning after the attack. Sunlight streamed through the crystalline windows, reflecting off the walls and scattering rainbows across the polished floors. Guards patrolled diligently, and council members gathered in hushed meetings. Despite the calm, tension hung in the air like an invisible fog. Everyone knew that the attack had not been a random event. Someone, or some group, was aware of Ethan and the pendant, and they would not give up easily. Princess Leora floated through the palace gardens, her tiny wings buzzing softly. She was restless. She had spent the night thinking about Ethan and the pendant, and the way the plants in the gardens had responded to his touch. She had seen courage in many, but none had moved her as he did. "Mother," she said quietly when she found Queen Arathia in the palace library, "I cannot stop thinking about him. He is different. The pendant. It is connected to our history, isn't it?" Queen Arathia studied her daughter carefully, her long robes brushing the floor. "Yes, my child," she said softly. "The pendant is one of the lost keys. It was made centuries ago by the founders of Zerathia, designed to hold knowledge that could help our civilization and any other civilization with wisdom, technology, and unity. It was lost for generations. That it has appeared now in the hands of a human is extraordinary." Leora nodded, determination sparkling in her violet eyes. "Then we must help him. He will need us if anyone tries to take it." Queen Arathia smiled faintly, proud of her daughter's courage. "You are right. But remember, my child, bravery must be guided by wisdom. The future of Zerathia, and perhaps more, depends on careful choices." Meanwhile, Ethan studied the pendant in the council chamber. The glow had dimmed slightly after the previous night's battle, but the energy within it was still strong. He traced the ancient symbols carved into its surface, reading them as if they were words written in an unfamiliar language that his mind somehow understood. The pendant seemed alive, responding to his thoughts and intentions. Verathin approached cautiously. "Ethan, you should know," he said in a low voice. "The attackers were not ordinary thieves or raiders. They were highly trained warriors from a rival system. They covet the power of the lost keys. If they learn how to use the pendant, it could bring devastation to many worlds." Ethan nodded. "I understand. That is why I must learn everything about it, and quickly. But I cannot do it alone. I will need the help of your people and the guidance of your knowledge." Verathin hesitated, glancing at the pendant. "It is dangerous. Humans are clever, yes. But this is not a tool you can master in hours. It is tied to the very essence of our civilization. A mistake could be catastrophic." Ethan's eyes were steady. "I will be careful, but I cannot wait. If the wrong beings discover the pendant secrets before I do, we all risk losing more than knowledge. We risk lives." Back in the palace gardens, Leora watched Ethan as he moved among the glowing plants, studying the pendant and its effects. She noticed that certain flowers seemed to respond more strongly, their light pulsing in rhythm with the pendant. Curious, she fluttered closer. "Ethan," she said softly, careful not to startle him, "do you know what these plants are doing?" Ethan looked at her, surprised but not alarmed. "They are ancient energy conduits," he said, recognizing her knowledge. "They respond to the pendant's energy. I think they are guiding me, teaching me." Leora's eyes widened. "Then it is teaching you. You are not just learning about the pendant, you are learning from it. That is why you are different from anyone else." Ethan smiled faintly. "Perhaps. But I must still be careful. There are those who would use it for harm." Just then, alarms rang out across the palace. Red lights flashed, casting long shadows through the crystal halls. Guards rushed past, shouting orders. Leora's heart pounded. She knew instantly that the attackers had returned. Ethan moved calmly, his hands brushing the pendant. A soft golden light expanded outward, creating protective barriers around the gardens. The attackers approached, their ships hovering above, casting dark shadows on the palace grounds. Leora darted through the hallways, warning the palace guards. "They are back! They want the pendant! Hurry!" The palace gates shook as the intruders landed, armored and armed with advanced technology. Their leader, a tall alien with jagged armor, spoke through a translator. "Surrender the human and the pendant, or your palace will fall." Queen Arathia stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "This palace does not surrender. We will protect all who are within it." Ethan stood beside her, the pendant glowing brighter than ever. "I will not allow harm to come to your people, or to this planet, but we must act quickly." Together, Ethan and the palace defenders used a combination of Zarathian technology and human ingenuity. The pendant amplified their efforts, creating energy barriers and illuminating weak points in the attackers' formations. Leora, small but brave, guided the guards through hidden corridors, helping them outmaneuver the enemy. Despite the chaos, Ethan's calm and clear thinking allowed the defenders to gain the upper hand. The attackers were forced to retreat, their ships leaving scorched marks on the palace grounds as they fled. The palace was safe, but everyone knew the danger was far from over. After the battle, the council gathered once more. Silence filled the chamber, broken only by the soft hum of the pendant. Queen Arathia studied Ethan closely. "You have proven your bravery and your wisdom, but this is only the beginning. There are forces in the galaxy who will not rest until they have what you carry." Ethan nodded. "I understand. That is why I need to learn everything about this pendant and your civilization. Only then can I protect it, and perhaps help others understand it as well." Varathan stepped forward, a mixture of caution and respect in his voice. "Ethan, the pendant is not just an artifact. It is a key to knowledge, to power, to understanding. You must promise to use it wisely, for the good of all, not for personal gain." Ethan held up his right hand. "I promise. My goal is peace, knowledge, and unity. Nothing else." Leora floated closer to Ethan, her wings fluttering nervously. "I believe you," she said softly. "I have known it from the moment I saw you. You are not just a visitor. You are the one who can help both our worlds." Ethan smiled at her, a gentle warmth in his eyes. "And it seems the smallest of us can see the greatest truths," he said. As night fell over Zarathia, the palace glowed softly under the twin moons. The humans and aliens who had worked together that day began to share knowledge, exchanging ideas about technology, energy, and the history of their civilizations. Leora watched Ethan as he learned, guided, and prepared for what lay ahead. In a quiet corner, she whispered to herself, "He is the one. I know it. And together, we will protect this world." For the first time, Leora felt hope not just for her people, but for the entire galaxy. She knew that challenges would come, but with courage, intelligence, and the bond between human and alien, they could overcome anything. The palace, once silent and tense, now held a new energy. It was the energy of possibility, of understanding, and of unity. And at the center of it all was a human named Ethan, a tiny princess named Leora, and a pendant whose secrets were only beginning to reveal themselves. Outside, the stars shone brightly, and the twin moons cast silver light across the crystal towers. The galaxy waited, unaware that a new alliance was forming, one that could change the course of history forever. And deep within the palace, Princess Leora knew that the adventure had only just begun. The morning sun rose over Zarathia, casting long beams of light across the palace's crystalline towers. The twin moons had disappeared behind the horizon, leaving the sky a soft golden hue. Inside the palace, there was a quiet sense of anticipation. Every member of the council, every guard, and every servant knew that the threat from the rival faction was far from over. Yet today, there was hope, and the hope rested with a human named Ethan and a tiny princess named Leora. Leora floated through the palace gardens, her violet eyes wide with curiosity. Her wings fluttered gently as she moved from one glowing plant to another. The plants, still responding to the pendant's energy, cast a soft light on her face. She could feel the bond growing stronger between Ethan and the world of Zarathia. She had seen his courage, his intelligence, and his respect for her people, and she knew that he was destined to play a greater role than anyone could imagine. "Leora," Queen Arathia called softly from the library balcony, "come here, we have much to discuss before today begins." The princess flew up to her mother, landing lightly on the railing. "Mother, I am ready," she said. "I want to help him. I want to help everyone." Queen Arathia smiled, her eyes filled with both pride and concern. "Your heart is brave, my child, but courage must be guided by wisdom. Today we face a challenge that may decide the future of Zarathia. You must be careful." Meanwhile, Ethan stood in the center of the council chamber, the pendant glowing softly around his neck. He had spent the night studying it, learning more about the ancient energy and knowledge it contained. The more he understood, the more he realized its power and the responsibility it carried. Varathan approached him cautiously. "Ethan, today is the day we must face the rival faction. They will not give up until they have the pendant. You must be ready." Ethan nodded. "I am ready. But we cannot fight them alone. We must unite our people, share knowledge, and show that courage and cooperation can defeat greed and violence." The palace doors opened, and the council gathered around him. Aliens of every shape and size, their forms glowing softly with energy, stood together. Guards tightened their grips on their staffs. Leora hovered beside the council, small but determined. "Today," Ethan said, his voice steady and calm, "we do not fight for power. We fight to protect our knowledge, our people, and the future. We fight to show that humans and aliens can stand together." The council members nodded, inspired by his words. Even those who had doubted him began to believe. Suddenly, the alarms rang once more. Ships appeared in the sky, dark and jagged, their engines glowing red. The rival faction had returned, stronger and more determined than ever. Their leader, the tall alien in jagged armor, shouted through a translator, "Surrender the human and the pendant. You cannot resist." Queen Arathia stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "We will not surrender. We will protect all who are in this palace, and we will defend the future of Zarathia." Ethan raised the pendant, and a soft golden light spread across the palace grounds. Energy barriers formed around the towers and gardens, shimmering like liquid crystal. The rival ships fired, but the barriers absorbed the attacks, sending pulses of energy back toward the enemy. Leora darted through the halls, guiding the palace guards. "Through the side passages! Flank them from behind!" she shouted. Despite her small size, her voice carried authority, and the guards obeyed without hesitation. Ethan moved calmly among the defenders, using the pendant to amplify their strength and strategy. The energy it radiated responded to his thoughts, creating illusions and protective shields that confused the attackers. The rival faction had never faced such coordination or creativity. The battle raged across the palace grounds, but the defenders held their ground. Leora's bravery inspired the young guards, showing them that courage was not measured by size or strength. Ethan's calm leadership brought out the best in every alien present, blending human ingenuity with Zarathian technology. In the midst of the chaos, the pendant glowed brighter and brighter, as if recognizing the unity and courage of those defending it. Light spread across the gardens, the towers, and even into the council chamber, illuminating ancient symbols that had not been seen in centuries. Knowledge flowed from the pendant, sharing secrets of energy manipulation, architecture, and strategy with those who needed it most. The rival faction, confused and overwhelmed, began to retreat. Their ships were damaged by the energy pulses, and their formations broke under the coordinated defense. The leader, realizing defeat was inevitable, signaled a retreat. Red lights blinked across the skies as their ships disappeared into the distance. Silence fell over the palace once more. The golden light from the pendant faded, leaving a warm glow in its place. The defenders, exhausted but triumphant, looked around at one another, amazed at what they had accomplished together. Queen Arathia stepped forward, placing a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You have proven yourself, not just with courage, but with wisdom and respect. Today, you have united our people in a way no one else could have." Ethan bowed respectfully. "I did not do it alone. The courage of your people, the guidance of your council, and the bravery of a tiny princess made this possible." Leora floated forward, her wings trembling with excitement. "I told you, Mother," she said softly. "He is the one. He is the one the stories spoke about. He has shown us that humans and aliens can be friends, allies, even partners in creating a better future." The Queen nodded. "Yes, my child. And now we must prepare for the next step. The pendant is powerful, but it is also a responsibility. Together we will learn from it, and together we will ensure that our civilizations grow stronger." Ethan studied the pendant one last time. The knowledge it contained was vast, more than he had ever imagined. But for the first time, he felt a sense of belonging, not just to his own species, but to a larger family that included the aliens of Zarathia. Over the following days, humans and aliens worked side by side. Technology was shared, lessons were exchanged, and understanding grew. Leora watched every moment, fascinated by how quickly both species learned from each other. She had always known that courage and curiosity could change the world, but now she saw it in action. The palace, once a place of quiet routine, now buzzed with energy and purpose. The gardens glowed brighter, the towers reflected light like never before, and the council chamber hummed with discussions of shared knowledge and cooperative projects. One evening, as the sun set and the twin moons rose, Ethan and Leora stood together in the palace gardens. The pendant glowed softly between them, casting golden light over the radiant plants. "You have done well," Ethan said gently to Leora. "You guided your people and showed them courage. You helped protect this world." Leora smiled. "I only did what felt right, and I knew you would help us." Ethan nodded. "Together, we will protect this world, and together, we will help our species learn from each other." In the distance, the stars of Zarathia's sky twinkled brightly. Across the galaxy, civilizations would soon take notice of this unprecedented alliance. Humans and aliens standing together, united by courage, knowledge, and respect. And deep within the palace, Princess Leora knew that the adventure was far from over. There would be challenges ahead, new threats, and mysteries to solve. But with Ethan, the pendant, and the unity of their people, she knew the future was bright. The palace, once silent with tension, now radiated hope. Humans and aliens had proven that together, they could overcome any obstacle. And for the first time in generations, Zarathia felt the promise of a future shaped by courage, intelligence, and the bonds of friendship across worlds. As night fully descended, Leora whispered to herself, her eyes shining with determination, "This is only the beginning. Together we will change the galaxy." The golden light of the pendant shimmered softly in the darkness, a symbol of unity, knowledge, and the new era that had begun. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a partnership that would endure for centuries, a story of hope, courage, and the triumph of cooperation over conflict. And in that moment, the palace of Zarathia was alive with possibilities, filled with beings who believed that together, humans and aliens could create a future brighter than any star.